Hey everybody! I made a graphical representation of the course. I decided to draw a picture and to show off my fantastic handwriting that few people know about now because I teach online and I do a lot of typing and I use fonts and things like that. But anyway, this is some Hewitt writing. But I thought I'd make a graphical image to sort of represent the class as I see it and try to explain it in 5 minutes or less. If you look big picture, think of this down here chronologically as the beginning of the class or the foundational time, and this is the exit of the class, the top, the pyramid's top. This is where you exit, where you reflect on how all this stuff went. Okay, so you've already done A1, remember, back in session 0. And then down here at the base of the pyramid, we've got some sort of foundational things that happen in session 1 and session 2. For example, last session you guys did some basic coding in HTML using a text editor. And this session you guys are going to use something a little bit easier in a way and harder in other ways, a WYSIWYG HTML editor. What you see is what you get editor, like Dreamweaver or Microsoft Expression Web. And you're also going to continue to apply design principles that you're learning from web resources, from this non-designer's book, and from the e-learning book. We'll start incorporating some principles that we learned from that moving forward. All right, so at its most foundational, we've learned a little bit about using text editors to get a good look at that coding piece that's important. Even when you use a WYSIWYG, sometimes a WYSIWYG misbehaves. You have to go into HTML mode and you have to go look at the tags and go fix them sometimes. I have to do that all the time in D2L. It just will not do what I want, and I actually have to go to the other side and do coding. Why? Why? At this day and age, 15, 20 years after the internet, you still have to do it. You just do. All right, so session 3, I did make some adjustments in the course plan that I won't talk about here, but basically you're going to be doing all 3 of these projects, A4, A5, and A6, and what you're going to be doing is absorbing rules, guidelines, and principles. Rules about Section 508 compliance and how you make an accessible website. Design rules about how you design websites for sort of e-learning, to sort of observe e-learning principles. Principles of learners who use this website as a part of their learning strategy. So it could be that you as a teacher decide you need to make a website for your your students in your 7th grade class, for example. Your 7th grade science class, maybe they need to download resources, every week's worksheets, they need to maybe upload learning projects. I mean, you get to decide, but this is the e-learning piece from the MMLTEL project. Then, of course, we're going to dip into copyright and fair use to an extent. I'm going to be simplifying the copyright and fair use assignment pretty significantly, and I'll probably simplify these other 2 a little bit as well so that they can fit well into a 2-week period, because I don't want to kill you guys, because there's a lot of reading in several of these. All right, so that's session 3. So we get some technical stuff down here in the bottom level, then we learn some rules and guidelines and principles, and then from there, session 3's stuff feeds into session 4, where you do a couple things. You're going to work on this A7 evaluation strategies assignment, and you're going to start working on a project plan to build a website. So this is like the project plan for the big project of the class. And pretty much from A7 on out, it's all about this big project. Really from A8, should I say, but A7 even deals with the big project, because what A7 does is it's where you get to start thinking about the audience that you want to build a website for, or perhaps modify an existing website that you already use in your professional setting. And you're going to basically create an evaluation tool that can be used to evaluate that website that you're going to be creating. And you're going to be using the rules that you learned in these projects to sort of feed into that. Okay, that's one thing you're going to do, because it's very important to think about these types of things before you design rather than after the fact. Then you're going to make a project plan. This is a major assignment that I am currently working on. So it exists in beautiful, detailed fashion right now, but I talked to the fall 2014 instructor about ways to modify it in a way that I think you guys will prefer. So that's something I'm working on, but basically you have to draft plans for how you're going to build your website. You're going to have to show that you're thinking about all of these things in that plan. Then you will build your website through the assignment that's called WYSIWYG Tool Design Work, which is another way of saying build a website, and you're going to publish it, okay? And you're going to evaluate a classmate's website. Again, you're going to be using the tool that they developed back in A7. So the tool they developed for their website, you'll be using to evaluate their website. So it's not the tool you created, it's the tool they created to evaluate their website, and then that's where we're done. So it kind of takes you through the whole process. You're going to learn some technology, obviously, this semester. You're learning a lot about design. You're learning about using WYSIWYGs and that kind of thing. All right, so I pretty much explained most of it in 6 minutes. If you'll stay with me for about 2 minutes, 2 more minutes, I'll talk to you quickly about the WYSIWYG decision bar. And what the heck is this little brown decision bar thing? You get to decide at this point in this semester, basically at that moment where you're beginning the project, the big project. What tool are you going to use to design? Because you need to make that decision, early on, because that will affect what you're able to do. My philosophy is that you should use the tools that you're going to use. So like right now you should be learning to learn on tools that you can carry with you into your practice. So with that in mind, you have to decide, and I'm going to tell you what you can decide too. You have to decide, are you going to use a highly technical tool, WYSIWYG tool like Adobe Dreamweaver? And if you decide to do that, you have to be willing to pay a little bit of money, at least $30 for 2 of the months of this semester. So that's $60. You may have access to it somewhere. You may have access to it on campus actually in computer labs. So let me know if you want me to check that out. I think that there are some computers on campus if you live in Carrollton or nearby where you could actually come here and do your work on Dreamweaver. You can also decide, are you going to stick with Microsoft Expressions Web to make your project? That's another option for you. Or whatever other WYSIWYG tool you find is fine. You get to decide for the most part. But you may decide to choose something a little bit easier. So I'm just kind of giving a hint at it now, but I'm going to let you guys use a tool that is more possibly more familiar to you and something you're more likely to continue using after April. I don't want you to use something that's sort of obscure to you and difficult and cumbersome and unnatural in that, for example, if I'm making you use Dreamweaver, then that means you have to have website space on which to put your pages and that kind of thing. Not all of you are going to have that after April. So let's be practical. So I just want to let you know that I will let you use tools that are more like what you would be using in, say, your K-12 context. Things like Weebly. I think that I'm going to say yes, you can use Weebly. And I'm going to try to come up with a list of approved sites like that. Now, there's certain things that I'm not going to let you use, probably. Like, I don't think Edmodo is going to be pushing you far enough and allowing you. I don't think it allows you to show a lot of these things that we're learning about. So that's part of the project. You do have to show that you're learning what you needed to learn. But so that's where I have to do a little tool evaluation. And if there's a tool that you want to use, you can always run that by me ahead of time and give me some time. Give me a month to go explore it, so then I can have an answer for you. So that's another good thing to think about. Is there a tool that you want to use? Let me think about it. Just give me some forewarning, and I'm very likely to say yes, as long as it, presents some kind of challenge and opportunity to show off all this amazing stuff you've learned. So that is the semester in my quick graphical representation. I hope you like this presentation. I've provided a link to this so that you can download it and you can print it in color and tape it on the walls of all of the offices that you work in. And let me know if you have any questions, and have a great day.